Life is full of challenges, and there's no way that we can get around that. There's no way for that not to be true. Doesn't matter whose life it is, it doesn't matter what perspective with which you come from. Like, life is just full of challenges. Like, there's nothing we can do about that. And this week, we're going to talk about challenging yourself and how to overcome challenges. And I can't help but think about how I learned to be an overcomer of challenges. I can't help but think about how I first became someone that had to deal with and tackle challenges. I've often said that trauma is a very difficult thing to experience as a child, but there's also a bit of a gift in trauma. And the gift in that trauma is that you learn to overcome challenges by force. Like, you have no other choice. You have no option. Like, you have to deal with and manage the traumas in your life and the impact of those traumas because they're there, and there's really nothing or very little you can do about it. So today I'm going to talk about like the first challenges that I can remember. Like, I need to challenge myself to overcome this. I can't lose. I can't be defeated. I can't fall down right now. Like, I have to overcome this. There was a turning point in my life, and I want to talk about that today. So welcome back to the aha moments, where every day I share the lessons I've learned in my work as a psychotherapist and in my life to inspire you to live your very best life. Of course, I'm your host, Elliott Connie. Now, it's very tempting to me to talk about challenges from the perspective of athletics. I mean, the first time I ever really remember, setting a goal and experiencing like, this is a challenge I have to face, was athletically. I had an opponent, I had a goal, I had a vision, and I wanted to accomplish it. But to be honest with you, it started way before that. It started as a young kid, where I knew my very first challenge was to just simply appear to be normal. Like, my very first challenge was to give the impression that I was doing okay when I wasn't. I remember feeling like everybody else had a normal life, normal experience, normal existence, and mine was far from that. I remember feeling like everybody else was normal and somehow their lives were okay, and they were going to school kind of on an even playing field, and I had massive setbacks. And my goal, like my mission, was to like go to school and function. And I know it sounds like a silly thing, but the first challenge I ever had to overcome was to be able to go to school and smile. Be able to go to school and put on a happy face. Be able to go to school and function like everyone else. I was aware that that was a challenge. Like, I was aware that that was the mission. I was aware that that was the purpose. I was aware that I was doing it while I was doing it. What I didn't know is how hard it was and the impact it was having on me. But I also didn't know the long-term positive impact on this, because I realized something very profound. I was not performing academically at the rate of my peers. They were outperforming me in many levels. But at some point I realized they had every advantage that I did not have. And though they were outperforming me, they were not outperforming me massively. It wasn't like a big leap in front of me. And at some point I genuinely started to feel like, okay, hold on. If I had equal tools, equal opportunities, equal environment as some of my peers, I think I'd be outperforming them. And for me, that was like a massive and profound realization that the real reason that they're beating me isn't my talent or my skill. It was mostly related to my environment. And my challenge became to outwork that gap, right? My challenge became to outwork and outperform that gap. And the more I hung in there with my peers, and I'm talking, this was like elementary school. This was going back early in my childhood. And the more I was able to achieve that, the bigger impact it had on my self-esteem. And it didn't happen overnight, but it happened. And I started feeling good about myself academically and intellectually, and it completely transformed my life. So what was the first time you remember facing a challenge and overcoming it? The journey to become a better person, and I don't mean to be like, I'm a person with this huge flaw or problem. I've got this addiction or this whatever, and I need to like become fixed. I just mean the journey to become a better version of you constantly and consistently will always be a part of life. Should always be a part of life. It should always be a part of the process of how we go about living our lives and what that is like. And none of us are away from that. Like, we should all be striving to be a little bit better than we were before. We should all be striving to be a little bit better than how we've been in the past. We should all be striving to be the best version of us. You know, I've spent a lot of my time in the past couple of years becoming the best professional I could be, and I worked really hard to do that. I've invested a lot of time, energy, and money into being successful and building the skills professionally to help me do that as a clinician, as a business owner, as a social media influencer. Like, I really worked at that. And to be honest with you, my personal life suffered and my health suffered from that journey because I wasn't attending to my personal life or my health with the same level of focus as I was those other areas. And it caused problems. And I want to talk about how I had to become a more holistic person in the way that I viewed my journey of self-improvement. Like, it could no longer be just about business or therapy. It had to be about me as a human. And I started making some choices around that. You know, and I used to like prioritize my work above anything else, including my own personal journey, my own personal health. I'm going to tell you a really quick story on how I've made that shift and how hard it was. And to be honest, it was very, very hard. You guys probably heard me talk about it before. I've given up things like soda, fried food, simple sugars, and candy. And I try to live and eat right, healthily. But I'll give you a subtle example of how I prioritized myself recently and how that was like a big, profound moment for me. Now, in my company, we have to produce content. It's part of what we do, and my team needs me to like make videos, and then I send them to them, and then they make the videos ready to go up on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, wherever, TikTok, wherever we put it. And sometimes it's hard for me to keep up. We have a lot of content to make. We have a lot of videos to make, and sometimes it's difficult. So I had a flight the other day, and my brand manager, Helen, was waiting on me to make some videos for her, make some content for her. And I told her my plan was to wake up, pack, and then record these videos before I got on my plane. And when I woke up that morning, I started to pack, and I realized that some of the supplements that I now take to prioritize and take care of my health, I would run out of them. I didn't have them with me. So I jump on the app for the store to see what time the store opens and could I have them delivered to my house. And the store didn't open until 11, and I needed to be leaving for the airport at around 11:30. And I had a choice. The old Elliott would have been like, dang it, I can't bring my pills. I would have made the videos, went to the airport at 11:30, and then been on my way. But the new Elliott did the exact opposite. The new Elliott would have said, I can't make those videos. I got to go get those pills. So what I did was at 10:30, I went to the store, waited for it to open, went in, bought the 2 or 3 supplements that I needed, went home, was home about 11:10, finished packing and head to the airport about 11:30, having not made my videos, which was very unusual for me. So when I got to my destination, Helen messaged me, hey, did you get a chance to make those videos? And I had to tell her, no, I did not make the videos. I apologize, but instead I prioritized my health and I got the pills instead of make the videos. I'm going to have to make the videos later in a less ideal situation. Instead of making them in my home, this really nice studio that we have put together, I got to make them on the road in whatever random place I can find to make them. Helen being awesome, she understood, but for me, that was a moment of like a different shift. That was me prioritizing my health in a different way, and quite frankly, in a way that I otherwise wouldn't have done. Now, when you decide to prioritize yourself or challenge yourself to become better, you're going to have to make different choices day to day, moment by moment. You're going to have to learn to make different choices as you go about life. And that's an example of me. What are some different choices you've had to make to support your desire to be the best version of yourself? So recently, I've become very interested in extreme running. And I want to be clear, I am not doing it. And extreme running are these marathoners who don't do a marathon, where it's like what is a marathon, like 26.2 miles or something like that. Extreme runners do 100 miles in one go. They run for 36 hours at a time. They run extreme long distances. And I've become very interested in some of the people that do this and the mentality with which they do it. I'm just fascinated by like how strong your mind or your will is that must allow you to do this. And there are two people that I follow and pay attention to the content they make because it's very fascinating to me. One of them is a guy named David Goggins, and another one is a man named Jesse Etzler. And they know each other. They've done some work together. The way they met is really interesting. A lot of times these 100-mile races are relay teams. So we like 4 people that run, and they basically take turns running. Jesse Etzler was in a race where he had a team with him, but this guy David Goggins was there by himself. And he ran 100 miles by himself straight. No break, no nothing. He just ran. It's fascinating, the mentality you have to do this. And it really is about challenging yourself, which is why I want to talk about it today. Because some people have almost a superhuman ability in the way that they challenge themselves, in how they challenge themselves. Jesse Etzler, he just made a video about this. I just saw it this morning or yesterday, very recently. And he talked about like the biggest mistake that people make as they're trying to run these ultra marathons, as they're called, is they quit. He said they get to about the 30 to 40 mile mark and it starts to hurt. And it's almost like they're surprised by the hurt. And as a consequence of it being painful, they stop. And I was really fascinated. Like, why does this guy, Jesse Etzler, why does this guy, David Goggins, why don't they stop? And the person interviewing Jesse asked him a similar question. He explained, said the difference is I expect the pain, which kind of blew me away. I would have thought that a really in shape person who runs these ultra marathons, they train themselves so that they're in such great shape they can run forever without experiencing any pain because they're in such great shape. But Jesse Etzler is saying, no, that's actually not true. I train my brain to deal with uncomfort and, in fact, pain. And he said, of course it's going to hurt. It hurts for all of us. Every single person out there is in excruciating pain. Every single person out there is experiencing something that is unbearable. Every single person out there is dealing with something as they do this. But what's different is because I anticipate the pain. When the pain shows up around mile 30 or 40, I say to myself, is that all you got? Is that the best you can do? Is that the only amount of pain you're going to be able to bring to me? He says stuff to him like, here you are, pain. What took you so long? He literally like talks himself into saying to this pain, you're not going to win today. And as a result, he can keep going. And keep going until he accomplishes his aim, the finish of that ultra marathon. It's mind-boggling to me. It completely blows me away. I'm just absolutely blown away by the complete shift of thinking. Jesse Etzler doesn't train his body as much to run 100 miles. In fact, he accepts it's going to hurt. My legs are going to hurt. My feet are going to hurt. My muscles are going to cramp. My lungs are going to be in pain. I'm going to be cramped. It's going to hurt. He trains his brain to anticipate and respond to the pain. Imagine if we did that more in our personal lives. Imagine if we just accept there's going to be some pain along this journey. Now, Jesse Etzler is a very successful businessman, and he actually was sharing this story as a kind of metaphor for the business journey, and that I can certainly relate to. Starting my entrepreneurial journey, like, it's going to hurt. Some of it hurt. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be a challenge. But imagine if every time you face a challenge, you said, is that all you got? Is that all you're bringing to me right now? The greatest thing I've ever done, and I've told this to people, I've had a massive amount of success in my business. I've become one of the biggest names in the field of psychotherapy. I've built multi-million-dollar businesses, plural actually. I've written multiple books, traveled around the world lecturing. The greatest thing I've ever done is not quit. The biggest thing I ever did to help those things become true is not quit. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. As you challenge yourself to be the best version of yourself, don't quit. Learn the lesson from Jesse Etzler. And when the pain arrives, say to yourself, is that all you got? If you know me, then you know that I love superhero movies. They are awesome. And one of the reasons I love them is because oftentimes there's a character that is trying to be the better version of himself, and there are obstacles that are getting in the way of that character trying to be the better version of himself. And recently I went to go see a movie called Thunderbolts, which is the newest Marvel movie, and it blew me away. And what blew me away is because the main character, and spoiler alert, I'm going to talk about this movie, and try not to give too much away, but if you've not seen it and you don't want anything given away, click away now. Or turn off the podcast now. And I bet you've never heard a podcast, so say turn off the podcast now. But if you've not seen this movie, and you want to see the movie, turn off now, because I'm going to be saying some stuff. But the main character is a person who was struggling with a mental health disorder and really had to deal with some things on the journey to become the best version of himself. He really had to deal with some things on his journey towards hero-ness. And so did the people around him. They had to deal with some things also on their journey to support him becoming the best version of himself. So as I was thinking about, talking about challenging yourself, I couldn't help but think about this character. Because when you think about it, like becoming the better version of yourself, it's going to require you to challenge yourself. And you're going to have to work hard. In fact, you're probably going to have to work harder than you've ever worked before at anything. Because in essence, you're becoming a new version of yourself. And that's a hard thing for all of us when we accept who we are. To evolve into another person is very difficult. It requires us to release contact with the previous person that we were and become newer and become better in some sense. And that's really what this movie was about. There are many scenes in this movie where this person was really hiding who he was because he was ashamed of his mental health diagnosis and the way that it impacted the people around him. This person was hiding his true essence of who he was. And once he discovered who he was, he actually became worse. He was overcome with power and rage and resentment, and it caused him to be really negative and do some really harmful, dangerous things. But here's the thing. With the support of the people around him, he became better. He became the person he was supposed to become all along. And it made me think about my own life and my own journey, and yours too, everybody else. You can't be the best version of yourself alone. It takes a village. It takes a group. It takes people to support you on your way to being amazing. It really does take that. We cannot do it alone. In this movie, there's a scene in the movie where the main character is really struggling, and it's kind of the climactic scene, and everybody else kind of rallies around him, and they decide to love him. They decide to go be by his side and be there. And I thought about that, and I just thought, man, first of all, what a wonderful movie. If you haven't seen the movie, go see it. But what a wonderful scene and depiction and illustration. There have been times in my life where people rallied around me when I really needed them to rally around me. There were times in my life where people supported me and encouraged me and pushed me to be the best version of me. I needed them. It meant everything to me to have them at that time. And I know this is a fictional movie, this Thunderbolts thing, but that character needed that in that moment. Because it broke the thinking that no one cares about me, no one supports me. And once that thinking was broken, then he could be the absolute best version of himself. So as you're on your journey to improving and overcoming challenges and becoming the best version of yourself, look around you and think, who are the people around me that can support me and love me and do show up for me every time I need them. None of us can do this alone. It's a hard journey for all. But man, once you figure it out, you become your own superhero. That's why I love Marvel so much. That's why I love this movie. And that's what I want for you. Become your own superhero in your own story. As we wrap up the last day talking about challenging yourself, I really just have one simple question for you. And that question is, are you working hard enough? Are you giving the things that matter to you the attention and the energy that they require? Are you giving it everything you got? That's the question I have for you, because most of you aren't. You have so much left. You have so much inside of you that you could give and devote to your projects and the energy that you're trying, the energy for the thing that you're trying to achieve. But most of you aren't working hard enough. And I want you to understand how important it is to really just challenge yourself and be like, I'm gonna work just a little bit harder. I'm gonna stay up just a little bit later. I'm gonna wake up just a little bit earlier. But are you putting forth maximum effort to achieve an aim? Are you giving yourself the truest opportunity to be successful? I want you to be able to challenge yourself. I want to challenge you because I don't think anything great comes from just staying comfortable. And a challenge is literally putting yourself in situations where you are uncomfortable. And that's what it's going to take to succeed. So everybody talks a big game. Everybody talks about how much they want something or how badly they want to achieve something or how much they want to be successful. But I can tell whether you really mean that or whether it's just talk simply by watching your actions. When I started my therapy practice all the way back in 2007, I remember opening my office and everybody, I knew lots of people that had opened offices and they had a hard time getting clients and they didn't know how it was going to go. And I opened my office and was having a lot of success really quickly. I got clients pretty quickly and I was able to sustain it. And after I'd been in business for a few years, people would come to me and they'd say, Elliott, how are you doing it? What's the secret? And they would say, how are you accomplishing this? And I would always say to them, I will gladly tell you if you come by my office on Friday at 9 p.m., I'll answer every question that you have. And every single time that person would say, oh, no, I can't. I'm going out with some friends that night or I've got plans with family or I'm going to a restaurant or I'm doing whatever. And that's how I knew. You don't get it. Like, challenging yourself means putting yourself in risky, uncomfortable situations. Maybe you're going to upset those friends. Maybe you're going to upset that family member. Maybe you're going to upset that person you're in a relationship with. But I need to accomplish this goal. And most people don't challenge themselves. Most people do not put themselves in situations where it's like, I've got to figure out a way to make this work or lose. I got to figure out a way to make this work or I will be unsuccessful. I got to figure out a way to make this work or I'm going to suffer and struggle drastically. But that's what it takes. In all my years and all the people asked me to do that, and there were probably 24, let's say, over the years. Now there's lots, but when I had my office in Keller, there's probably 24 people that said, man, how do I become successful in my therapy practice? And I'll say, I'll tell you everything you need to know. I'll tell you exactly how I did. I'll give you the blueprint. Come by my office on Friday at 9 p.m. What they didn't know is I was in my office every single Friday at 9 p.m. The way that my days worked is even though I had 0 clients when I first started, I woke up, got dressed, and I went to the office, and I pretended that I had to be in my own office at 10 a.m. I walked in, I turned on the lights as if there were clients coming. I turned on the lobby music as if there were clients coming. I went into I literally got my office ready for clients. And I sat there and I came up with plans on who I could call to see if they referred me clients. And anytime I didn't have clients, I was working to get clients. So I was always in my office on Friday at 9 p.m. That was not new for me. But I knew that you're not challenging yourself enough. You didn't want it bad enough if you were just talking. I knew that. I could see it. It was just right there available in front of me. So my simple question for you is, are you working hard enough? And the only way that you can prove to yourself that you are, the only thing you can do is work just a little bit harder. There's always more you can do. Dig just a little bit deeper. Now you're challenging yourself, and now you've opened up the opportunity for you to achieve absolutely everything. Thanks for being here. If you wouldn't mind doing me a super huge favor, I would love it if you would share this podcast with at least one person in your life that you think could benefit from hearing this message today. And also don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else you listen to your podcast. And also follow me on all of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. You can search for my name, Elliott Connie, or at Elliott Speaks. That's my handle across all platforms. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.